Oh, brilliant. So, just waiting for people to come in. Hello, whoever you are. I think you are the first person. I don't know if that's actually me. But yeah, hello, whoever you are. How are you doing? We're in a live Q&A session, and what we'll be talking about today is give me a second, some questions that I found from the internet, and the glorious internet, and I want to answer them to bring value to you, my audience. Right. So, just give it a few minutes, and then welcome people in, I guess. Right. You know what? I'm going to go on with the Q&A because I do think anyone else is going to come. Sadly. Oh well. Let's get on with the show. Right. Where is the Q&A questions? Shit. Where is it? Hello, viewer. How you doing? What's your name? Who are you? Basically, what we're doing is a live Q&A show, and I'm just trying to find the questions. Give me a second. Q&A. Yes, I've got them. Okay, so today's live stream is answering your questions from the internet, giving you advice on playing guitar. So what I did is I collected 5 questions from the internet, and I'm going to answer them. And if you've got any questions about anything, feel free to ask. This is a chance that I want to get to know you, the audience, a bit better. We can chat about stuff if we want, and we'll see how it goes. So, first question is, what is the difference between a single coil pickup and a double coil? Well, basically, I'm not too sure. It's not something I don't really actually know about that much. So I'll have to do a bit of research on that. However, I can just Google the answer. What's the difference between a single coil, Jesus Christ, and a double coil? Let's go. In a year, this will look totally different, but for now, this is what I'm doing. Googling answers, I guess. I do know some stuff. I'll have to show you later, isn't it? Right. Okay, it was a lot of stuff. So I think the only real difference is that hello, Secret Agent Randy Beans. That is an amazing name. I'm from Colchester, UK. I'm in England. We're dealing with the common subject, the coronavirus, as it were. You've probably seen the memes on TikTok if you do that, and this, it's not locked down yet. But anyway, and people are going outside. I'm in my room. I'm doing a Q&A. Yeah. So, okay, so that question, basically what is the difference between a single coil and a double coil pickup, is that the tone and the sound is essentially different. So I think the double coil has a bit of a fatter sound, whereas the single coil has a bit of a thinner one. The amount of coils that you have on the guitar also results in a different sound. So for instance, some guitars have like 2 doubles, maybe 3 or 3 singles. My electric guitar here, it's a little beauty that I picked up the other day, has 3 single coils. It's a Fender Squire. I got it quite cheap because I needed a cheapish guitar to start teaching electric guitar, and I used to play it quite a lot. However, I fell into acoustic, and since then my love for fingerstyle, like through like Tommy Manuel, Tony McManus, these amazing fingerstyle players, Andy McKee, they just inspired me, and since then I've gone on to play acoustic for a long time, and then I came back to electric the other day, and I love it. So that was the first question of the Q&A. By the way, if you have any questions, leave it in the comments, and I'll answer it. So next question. You retracted your message. Oh, fair enough. Okay, are my hands too big for guitar? Well, no, essentially. Everyone's hands is different, right? And at the end of the day, everyone at the start thinks their hands are maybe too big or too small, simply because you're just not used to playing a guitar. That's all it is. Like, once you get used to the chords and the chord shapes, then everything becomes, once you get used to it anyway, you don't end up thinking that your hands are too small or too big. It's a very common thing of guitarists to think that their hands are too big or too small, and if you think that, then it's okay. It's okay, man. But let me tell you, I'm very sure, unless you have gargantuan hands or really miniature size hands, like unless they're abnormally big or small, then your hands are totally fine. You just need to get used to playing the guitar. Okay, so that was the question. Are my hands too big for guitar? Answered. Right, next question is, are the dots on a guitar's fretboard only meant for beginners? Well, no, because I've been playing for 14 years, 15 years. I still use the dots on the fretboard. They are ridiculously useful because they are a little marker of where the frets are. I know that the first dot is the 3rd fret. I know that the second dot is the 5th fret, so on. And it's like when I'm playing my guitar, especially I like on the electrics and the other guitars that I have. Sorry about the camera, by the way. I can see just for looking down, I don't know if you can see it, the little dots there. And it helps me to identify which fret I'm on. And I use it all the time. I think that as you get more used to the guitar, you do kind of learn simply by muscle memory where to play. However, the dots are meant for everyone. Because if they weren't there, it would just be a lot more effort and a lot more time to find out which fret you're on. When someone says, "Oh, there's this chord. Cool, where can I play it?" Oh, you play it on the 7th fret, and if the dots aren't there, you're like, "Oh, well, I have to maybe count all the way down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, okay, 7th fret." Instead of just thinking, right, 3rd dot, 7th fret, boom, there we are. So I think the dots are for everyone. If you maybe feel a bit hindered or a bit judged on as a beginner, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't use the dots. Well, it's totally normal, man, and it's totally fine. It's okay. Like, you can not use the dots if you want, if it's something you want to, like, I don't know, prove to yourself that you can do it. But I think the mark of an advanced guitarist and musician is not by like the technical skills, but it's more of the deepening of your own artistry and the deepening of your own creativity. As you get more in tune with yourself and your own sound and your own voice, you express it more. Like that to me is how you really progress as a musician. And in any art form, it's showing your style. It's not the technicalities, because those judgments are based on things like speed, for instance. Fast players are sometimes called great players, whereas you can play stupidly fast, maybe even really accurately, but you can sound dead as shit. You can, like you can have sound like you've got no soul. Soul comes not from the sounds, but it's from the feeling, and that feeling is transmitted through what you play. It is not the sound of the notes, it is the meaning that you give behind the notes. So that was the question: are the dots on the guitar's fretboard only meant for beginners? Right. So, by the way, whoever you are that's here, welcome. And if you've got any questions about anything, please leave a comment below and I'll happily answer. But anyway, on to the next question, which is, why do major chords sound happy? Right. Major chord in itself does not really, it has to be in a context, right? If you take a major chord on its own, it doesn't sound happy, it just sounds as it is. Now, when you add other chords around it, then it will sound brighter than, for instance, in a C major chord scale, you've got a C major, then a D minor, E minor. Now, the C major chord now sounds brighter compared to those other minor chords. And okay, so I guess you can put it in isolation. Anyway, the reason it sounds brighter compared to those chords is because those minor chords have, the chord structure has a minor third in it. That is the prevailing tonality in a minor chord that makes it sound darker than a major chord. Now, a major chord has a major third in it that makes it sound brighter. And when you put a bright chord next to a dark chord, that contrast between them actually makes both of their tonalities stand out a bit more. So the major will stand out a bit more brighter and the darker will stand out a bit more darker, because you've got something to compare it against, which is what I was trying to originally get at in my first point. Now, as a standalone chord, I guess it doesn't actually sound happy anyway to my ears, because there is a major third, where a major third from the root, that thing, and then in the context of the whole chord. Now, if you change that major third to a minor third, now we've got a C minor chord. Again, it's this contrast, because I've just played a major chord, then a minor chord, that you can hear the difference in brightness and darkness, in happiness and sadness, is what they're most commonly called. And so the difference is due to that third interval being changed. That is really important. In so many chords, the third is what dictates, it's what states what tonality it is in. So if it's a minor third, it will sound usually, if a chord has a minor third in it, it will usually sound darker. Sorry, my friend is having a bath with a kid. It's awesome. I love them both. And so, yeah, so it's the minor third and the major third difference that make it sound darker or brighter. And that is why a major chord sounds happy, because it has a major third within it, as opposed to a minor third. And okay, so what are the 10 scales a guitarist must know? Let's do it. 10 scales a guitarist must know. I think the first one is a minor pentatonic. This is used so much. This is the first scale. Apart from this and the major scale are the two scales I show students when I teach them, because the minor pentatonic scale is used so often in blues and rock. It's really easy to learn. It's got like 5 notes. And it is used so much in like so many rock songs. Same now. So that was one scale, the minor pentatonic. isn't actually in the minor pentatonic scale. That is part of the blues scale, which is another scale that is really important to learn. So far we have the minor pentatonic, then we have the blues scale, now the difference between a minor pentatonic and a blues scale is that you've got the flat 5 in the blues, which is the note in between the 4 and the 5 note. So we've got 1, 3, 4, flat 5, and then 5. That's the blues scale. Because in a minor pentatonic, we just omit that note, we don't play it. Now, the next scale that is most important, number 3, is the major scale. This scale, funnily enough, it's not the most used scale, but it is the most referred scale in theory, because all other scales refer to this scale's numbering system. Now, let me explain. A major scale is numbered. The notes of a major scale are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then back to 1. Now, a minor pentatonic scale is numbered 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. Why is the minor pentatonic scale numbered with the flats as opposed to not having them? Why would you not just number it 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 1? Because it's in reference to the major scale's interval pattern. Let me show you. We started on the same note for the C major and this minor pentatonic scale. Now, the flat 3 in a minor pentatonic scale comes from the fact that a major scale has a 3 as its third note. 1, 2, 3, 1, 3. Now, a minor pentatonic scale has the note flat 3. 1, 3. This flat 3 is just a 3 note that is moved down 1 fret, or you can say that it's flattened. Instead of the 3 has been flattened, so it's a flat 3. Numbers this way in scales simply means when you see scales with these flat numbers or sharp numbers, they simply mean that a note from the notes that it usually is played in the major scale, for instance, a 3, 1, 3, that note has simply been moved down 1 fret if it's flat, or up 1 fret if it's sharp. In this case, a sharp 3 would also be a 4. So, moving on with the minor pentatonic scale, just to clarify a bit further, we've got a 1 flat 3, a 4, which is the same as in a major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then in a minor pentatonic, we get a 5, same as in a major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, next note in a minor pentatonic is a flat 7. Now, this, just to reiterate the point we made earlier about the flat 3 and 3, this is from a 7 note, which is in the major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This 7 note has been flattened, moved down 1 fret. So it's a flat 7. So we've got 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, and then 1 again. I really hope that made sense in how the numbering systems of scales work, that the major scale is so often referred to because it is the basis. The way the notes are numbered is the basis for all other scales. And that's why you see things like 1 flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, instead of just 1, 3, 4, 5, 7. Yeah. So the major scale, that was the third scale. So far, to recap, we've had our minor pentatonic scale as the first scale that you should learn as a guitarist. Next scale is the blues scale with the flat 5. Next scale is the major scale, and so the fourth scale that you should learn as a guitarist, I think, is the minor scale. Very similar to the minor pentatonic, only the only difference is that it has 2 extra notes, a flat 6 and a 2. So for you that's listening, and for everyone else that is going to watch this after it's recorded, here's a little test. What we just talked about in that the major scale is the base for all other scales. So if the minor scale has a 2 notes, it's just a 2, nothing else, is that the same as the 2 in a major scale, or is it different? Give you a second to think about it. And the answer is that it is the same. It is the same note as in a major scale. It's the same distance away from the root. So in a minor scale, we go 1, 2. And it's exactly the same as in a major scale. 1, 2. Now in a minor scale, the number system is 1, 2, flat 3. So 1, 2, flat 3. Same as minor pentatonic. 1, 2, 3, and then it's a 4, 5, flat 6. So this is a 6th note in the major scale that has been flattened, gone down 1 fret. 4, 5, flat. Sorry, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6. Which is a 7th note in the major scale that has been moved down 1 fret. And then we get a 1 again. Boom! Now, that was the 4th scale. The 5th scale that I recommend learning as a guitarist, so far we've got minor pentatonic, blues, major, minor scale. I think the 6th scale is going to be a mode. I don't know if you've heard of the modes. They are basically variations of the major and minor scale. They're not that different. They usually only have 1 or 2 notes that are altered, but they create some beautiful color. And let me show you. The 5th scale that I recommend learning is the Dorian scale, which is a minor scale with a major 6th note. So we've got a 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. So that 6th note is the same as in a major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in the Dorian, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6. So that, now, in using that in practical terms, like where would you use maybe you've played with minor scale, minor pentatonic, blues scale. Where would you use a Dorian scale? You can use it as another scale to play when you're playing in a minor key. Now, this is where it becomes a bit tricky because the 6th note the major 6th note adds a new harmonic color, which can clash with the minor chords that a rhythm guitarist or a keyboardist might be playing. Or, for instance, if you've got another solo guitarist that is using the flat 6 instead of the 6 in his solos, then when you play your 6 and he plays his flat 6, it creates a really horrible dissonance. Let me try and play. You're going to get that sound, and that's not very pleasant. If you've got like a ripping solo. I played a major 7 as well, so it sounded even more dissonant. I wouldn't say worse either, because dissonance is something you might actually want in your playing. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but dissonance is a great tool when used when used tastefully, I guess. It's like a flavor, and if you have too much of it, it sucks. It just ruins everything. But if you sprinkle it, a little bit here and there, this is what jazz is, man. It's a little bit of dissonance, and that gets resolved. Because the whole thing of dissonance is that you're going away from the key or away from home, and then you're coming back with the resolution. And that moving away and coming back is what makes music turn. That's what makes music interesting, that you're going away from home, coming back again. This is something really important that I want to quickly touch on, because I think it'll bring a lot of value to the viewers, to you guys and girls, women. I'm used to saying guys so much. I call women guys. Okay, so going away from home. For instance, if let's not use C major. Let's use something different. Let's use this key, which is a D sharp major. So our first chord is a D sharp major, right? That is home. When we move away from home using a different chord, home, moving away, that is dissonance. That is creating dissonance. It just doesn't sound that dissonant because the notes are, we're still using all the same notes in that scale. So you can't, the dissonance is not, there's not that much of it, hardly any of it. But it's different enough that you can tell it's different using a different combination of notes. Like you can tell something has changed, obviously. It's quite a large difference, but it's not that dissonant because we're still using the same notes. However, it is still dissonance. This is what I mean, that we've moved away from home, which is the 1. We've gone to the 3, which we've moved away from the home bass. Then we've gone back to the, we've moved to the 6. And then we come back to 1 again. So we've moved away, creates tension, come back a little bit, which resolves a little bit, and then we resolve completely by coming back to the 1. This is in contrast with when you use notes that are outside of the key, which creates more noticeable dissonance. I think actually the term is the term consonance, which is spelled C-O-N-S-A-N-C-E, and that is when you use notes within the key. However, the point of dissonance is that you create tension and you're using notes outside of the key. And the point I wanted to make is that when songs change chords within the same key, they're still creating tension, but it's just not that apparent. It's simply tension. Any tension. This applies to life as well. It's like when you've got one thing and then you move away from it. Tension is created in that space. Because that thing, this new thing that's moved away, wants to come back to the 1, but it's moved away, so then there's tension. But it still wants to come back. Now, this whole thing stemmed from the Dorian scale, and that when you're soloing with someone, you might end up playing the 6th and the minor 6th, and so this is where it becomes a bit tricky when you're using a Dorian scale when playing in a minor key, if you're playing with someone else. So that's just something to be aware of, when you're playing the Dorian scale in a minor key. However, it sounds really good. So let me give you a little taste. Dorian. Minor. And that was a little chromatic note there. So the major 7 to the 1. Okay, so that was the 5th scale. The 6th scale would be, now what I'm just going to do is just go up the modes. So we've got 5, the 5th scale is Dorian, 6th scale is Phrygian. And if you know your modes, then you'll know what the ones are coming next. And now, for those of you that don't know, the next scale that I'm going to be talking about is the Phrygian scale. This is another minor scale that is altered by having a flat 2 included. This is what it sounds like. 1, flat 2. So this is where we've got, in a major scale, we've got the 1, 2. Now the 2 has just been flattened, move down 1 fret. So now it's a flat 2. 1, flat 2, flat 3, and then 4, because I it gets a bit more difficult singing that high. And then 5, flat 6, flat 7. Let's try the one, yeah. So that Phrygian scale is 1, flat 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. This again you can use in a minor scale when playing in minor keys if you want to. These scales, each scale has its own set of chords, by the way. Minor pentatonic and minor blues happen to fit in quite well with each other. So if you're playing in minor key, like in A minor, you can play either the minor scale, minor pentatonic, or the minor blues because they all use very similar notes. The only difference is that the blues scale just has that added chromatic note, but it still sounds very good. These other scales, they're altered notes. The way you can really use them when playing in minor keys is by just briefly touching on those new coloured notes, those new altered notes. So in the Phrygian scale, we've got a 1, flat 2, flat 3, 4, 5. If you're soloing in that key, if you notice that in the Phrygian scale and the minor scale, you have the minor pentatonic, because you've got the 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. In the Phrygian, you've just got an added flat 2 and a flat 6. And in the minor scale, you've just got an added 2 and a flat 6. But the minor pentatonic is still there. So what you can do is solo with your minor pentatonic. And then just add those little colours, just briefly, you know. A trick to doing this is by playing those new colour notes in between 2 notes. So for instance, what I did there, so I played that flat 2 in between the 3 and the 1. And so when you don't linger on it that much, it's not that the dissonance is less likely to be as apparent, and it's less likely to be as much of a problem. This is a great situation. This is a great thing to do if you're just not sure of how well this mode, how well a scale is going to play for whatever you're playing. Yeah. And so that was the 6th scale. The 7th scale that I recommend you learn is the, so we've gone in the modes, we've gone the major, Dorian, Phrygian. 7th scale is going to be Lydian scale, where we've got so the Lydian scale is a major scale with a sharp 4th note. In our major scale, we've got a 1, 2, 3, And we've got a 4 usually, but in a Lydian scale, we've actually got a sharp 4. So beautiful scale. I really like the Lydian because, oh, it's just lovely. Yeah, it's lovely. How would we use it? Again, with the similar thing, like using a different minor scale when we're playing over a minor key, we can use the Lydian scale playing in a major key. So, for instance, and then using a Lydian scale, again, we can just touch on that color note. So, what I mean by touching on that note is just simply, what I mean by touching on that note is not playing it as often and not holding it as often either, not holding that note as often. That's what I mean by touching on that note. Just making it basically less obvious. And the way you make something more obvious is by making it stand out, holding the notes for a specific period of time. Now, if you did that with the Lydian sharp 4th note, when someone else may be playing just all major notes, including that 4th note. Sorry. No. Then it would clash if you hold that sharp 4. Instead of just shortening the duration and making other notes stand out. Yeah, that was the 7th scale. The 8th scale is the mixed Lydian scale, which is a major scale with a flat 7. Flat 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Flat 7 root. And again, this is a major scale with a flat 7. And the way you would use it is by same as with a major scale, where we just touch on the flat 7. Yeah, I'm running out of steam here, so what I'm going to do is just going to quickly run through the last 2 scales and then ask you, whoever is watching, if you've got any questions at the end. Thank you for watching, by the way. I think I would do this anyway because I love to teach. I appreciate that you're spending your time here. I really value it. Thank you very much. Yeah. So, the 9th scale is a Locrian scale, which is a minor scale with a flat 2 and a flat 5. So 1, flat 2, flat 3, 4, flat 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. And then the 10th scale I recommend you learn is, I think, a major pentatonic. Funnily, I didn't actually mention that one in the beginning because that's also a very common scale. But yeah, major pentatonic is just like a minor pentatonic, where I've got the 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. Instead, we've got a 1, 2, flat 3. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 5, flat 6, 1. So it's like a skeleton of a major scale. You just haven't got the 4 and the 7. That was an awesome live stream. That actually went 10 minutes over than what I thought it might do. And that last question, we went really deep into that. That was awesome. Whoever you are that is watching, and whoever else may watch this afterwards, I hope that you really got some value from this. I know I actually discovered a few things as I was talking. Yeah, it was brilliant just to chat. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. If you've got any questions, please let me know. I'm really more than happy to answer anything. You know, I want to help you learn and progress. So I guess you've got no questions. That's cool. Well, I'll see you later. Have a great evening. Take care.